Arsenal took a lot of stick over the transfer window because of their apparent reluctance to spend any money. Now that sounds like a job for Kev. Hello and welcome to part 1 of my Arsenal FM17 playthrough. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode we're going to have a look at my summer transfers. That's right, we've actually made some summer transfers, which is a novelty if you're an Arsenal fan watching this. We're also going to play our first game of the season, which is at home against Leicester. Housekeeping bits out of the way up front. We are playing this on an updated FM17 database. It's the one by, let me credit this guy correctly, it's by the FM editor. I downloaded it off of FM Scout. There's going to be a link to it down in the description to this video. And it is up to date with effect from the 1st of September this year. So all of the transfers for other clubs that have happened. Obviously, there's not much in the way of transfers at Arsenal, but it's up to date to the point where Mbappe, there he is at Paris Saint-Germain, presumably with Neymar and whoever else, and yeah, all the transfers have happened. What it hasn't done is moved us forward a year in time. So me being me and not being the best at forward planning, have spent my transfer window preparing for life after Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil, only to realise after I'd signed my players that they still have 2 years left on their contract in game, because although all the data has moved on a year, we're still in August 2016. So they're both still at the club as well. So my transfers might seem a little on the unusual side. Try and remember, I did it on the basis of I've got a maximum of a year left with those two. So I tried to sign their replacements, and I spent a lot of money because you know how I like to do. So Thomas Lamar came in. He nearly signed for Arsenal in real life, if you were to believe deadline day reports. So he seemed like the obvious place to start, and fits in with the transfer policy we're going to put in place here at Arsenal. I toyed with lots of different stipulations to put on the save. I thought about doing a director of football save because, incidentally, Arsene Wenger just moved up to be my director of football. They didn't sack him when I came in, so he's still at the club. So I thought about leaving transfers completely in his hands, but where's the fun in that? I thought about doing a youth academy challenge, but as this is likely to only be a 3 or 4 season thing, youth academy challenges, I mean, we're not really going to develop many youth players in that time. I thought about doing homegrown, but with Arsenal, I mean, that just means selling everybody. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun. So in the end, I've just decided, right, we're going to do a kind of twist on Youth Academy, and we're not going to sign any players older than 21 years old. So we're going to bring in wonder kids. We're going to bring in players just on the cusp of being ready for our first team. And we're going to try, and this is a big try for me, we're going to try and run the club at a transfer profit. Now, this first transfer window, obviously, we haven't done that because we've not sold Sanchez and Ozil. But because I've already signed their replacements, my plan still is to sell them next summer. I'm not intending on giving them new contracts unless we end up selling someone else to balance out our transfer profit. We want to sell those two next summer and recoup most of the money we've spent this summer. And by the end of the 3, 4, 5 seasons, when hopefully we're celebrating with a Champions League win, we're also going to be celebrating that we're on a net transfer profit. That's the plan. This is going to be the biggest challenge of my life. But we brought in Lamar from Monaco for £59 million because, I mean, he's supposed to be good. I mean, in game, he's not quite as good as the players that we've got at the club. But he can play anywhere across our attacking midfield 3. That's right, we're not doing a 4-3-1-2. There's a couple of reasons for that we'll get to in a minute. But I think Lamar just makes sense to have in the club. Pepelu, this is one of Arsene Wenger's signings. I've left him in charge of bringing in promising youngsters, and he's identified this guy. He's an 18-year-old Spanish player, 1.5-star current ability, 4-star potential ability, just plucked him out of Levante B for £2.4 million. I doubt we'll ever see him play a game, but, you know, got to let him have his fun. It's a proper Arsene Wenger signing. Ooh, I bet he really fought with himself over whether he wanted to spend that £2.5 million. We've also signed Marco Ascencio, another player who was kind of a little bit linked with them, a little bit in real life. Realistically, he's never going to sign for Arsenal, though, presumably. But to be able to get him in, age 20, got one Spanish cap, 3-star current ability, but another one with 5-star potential, another proper wonder kid, comes in from Real Madrid. I mean, both those last two transfers of players who've just signed for their previous clubs for less than £3 million, and we've got them thrown all the money in the world at them. We're looking like idiots. And then to round off being idiots, this one was the biggest risk, but he was the only 5-star potential under 21 defender I could find at all. So we've massively overpaid for him. It's going to be a big ask to make a transfer profit on this guy individually, but as long as we do it as a club, we'll still be okay. So Andreas Kristensen, 20 years old, comes in from Chelsea, having spent a year on loan at Borussia Mönchengladbach, where he spent 2 years on loan in real life. We've spent far too much money on a player who's not going to go straight into our team, but £51 million, which means we start off on minus £155 million. We're going to start trying to claw some of that back in January. I'm just not entirely sure how. I mentioned we're not going to be doing the 4-3-1-2. There are a couple of reasons for it. Firstly, Arsenal do have an abundance of attacking midfield players. It would be difficult for me to choose between the 4 or 5 options in that position we already had at the club, especially now I've brought in 2 more to add into that group as well. But the more pressing reason is that we only have one proper striker because Lacazette, who was Arsenal's big summer signing in real life, has broken his foot and is out until Christmas. So we don't get to play Lacazette at all. Theo Walcott's also injured as well. And Jack Wilshere, I think, has had 3 injuries over the course of pre-season. Let's just double check that. He's had... Oh, sorry, it's only 2 injuries. But, yeah, that's a great start to life under Kev for Jack Wilshere. So... with all the transfer coming in, there hasn't been anyone leaving yet, but the transfer window still has a couple of weeks to go, and I'm thinking we might still get some offers for some players. Even Wilshere is wanted by Liverpool and Man City. If he's worth £22 million. Imagine if we get 30 million for him, for example. That starts to chisel away at that 155 million straight away. But this is the team that we're going to be playing for our first game of the season, and this is the tactic we're going to try and get working. It's a variation on what we did this time last year when we did the Milan mission, and Milan were in a very similar situation to what Arsenal are in real life. Bit of a fallen giant, haven't really won anything for 10 years, not even qualified for the Champions League. The slight difference with Arsenal is they still have probably a better squad of players than Milan did this time last year and have that little bit more money to spend, so I've been able to go out and splash the cash a little bit. But this tactic worked for us then. Fingers crossed we can get it working for us now. I don't want to have to drop back to the 4-3-1-2. We're going to try and avoid using it at any point in this save just to see if Kev can do wingers. So, our team for the first game of the season against Leicester. We've got Petr Cech in goal. A back four of Monreal, Koscielny, Mustafi and Bellerin, with Ramsey and Coquelin in midfield. And then Danny Welbeck up front. I don't like Danny Welbeck, really. I don't think he's good enough to be at Arsenal. But the other choice is Olivier Giroud, and I don't think he's good enough either. So we have got a bit of a problem. If Lacazette had got injured a little bit sooner, we perhaps wouldn't have signed both Lamar and Ascencio. We perhaps would have just brought in one of them and then signed a striker as well. But so we have Welbeck up front, and then behind him, Sanchez, Ozil and Lamar, which is not a bad 3. And if it doesn't work out, we can always bring Ascencio on to add into that as well. So we might just have to go strikerless because we've got so many good attacking midfielders now that strikerless might be an option. Tactic-wise, we're going to do control and fluid, and our team instructions, I'm going to try and play as close to the Arsenal way as we can, and I think this is as close as I can get pushing these buttons. I was tempted to turn on Be More Expressive and roam from positions as well, but I think having that with fluid is a little bit over the top, and we're going to end up with everyone standing in the centre circle not knowing what to do if we put all that on. So we're going to stick with fluid, leave those off, but we are going to try and play out of defence, exploit the middle, because our 2 wide players, although we're playing with wingers, they're both on inside forward instructions, so they're going to tuck in quite a bit. We're then going to try and overlap them with our attacking fullbacks and work the ball into the box to try and get our fancy attacking midfield 3 as much time on the ball as we possibly can. We don't want to have them stuck in these kind of areas and having Danny Welbeck as our only player trying to finish off chances, because I don't think that is a route to success for us. So let's get into the match, see what we can come up against with Leicester. The teams are warming up, apparently. That's exciting. This is the first time I've started a new Football Manager save since the Deep in Rangers one that we now do on Twitch, that was 3 or 4 months ago. It's only the 4th save I've started this year on Football Manager. And it looks like it's got the 3D pitch on. We don't want a 3D pitch. Hold on. We want 2D classic and everything else. That all looks acceptable. Do we want to? Yeah, excellent. Right. Let's get into this. You're about to take charge of your first match as Arsenal manager. By the way, do you like my new bald haircut? I figured I've got so much hair in real life at the moment, my in-game persona should balance it out. So I average out at normal Kev hair length. Yes, we're great. Yes, he's great. And the Leicester team looks pretty great. I mean, I'm not massively filled with confidence for the start of this season, which is a bit of a problem. Right, we need to turn this nonsense off as well. Get that off, because otherwise that's just going to upset me. Right, I am hoping for a win on the first game of the season. The board are expecting us to go and win the league this year, which seems a little bit of an unrealistic expectation for a team that didn't even qualify for the Champions League last year. But then, I guess on the flip side of that, they'll say, well, hang on, you're a team that's just spent 150 million quid, so perhaps you should be a little bit better. And we're 1-0 up after 6 minutes. And because I criticised him, he's going to keep proving me wrong now, isn't he? It's Danny Welbeck opening the scoring. Alexis gets in behind, just squares it across nicely to Welbeck. Gets a little bit of a deflection, but Welbeck's well positioned. And, I mean, it looked like that had gone wide on that camera angle, but apparently it didn't. And even if it did, it counted as a goal. So who cares? Right, why is that still coming on? I thought I turned that off. How do I? Match feed settings. Well, I've turned you off. Is that not the right thing to turn off? Ignore. Yes. There we go. Hopefully they won't keep coming up. Why can't it just carry these settings over from save to save? Because I only have to turn this stuff off once or twice a year, I don't remember how to turn it off. Oh, we've gone 2-0 up, and I don't know who scored it. Monreal scored it. Lamar with the corner. I don't know who nodded it down. We'll have a look on the 3D to see who's nodded that down. So Lamar crosses in. It's nodded down by Coquelin, maybe. And then Monreal shoots, gets another big deflection. But importantly, we're 2-0 up with 8 minutes to go before half time. And this is going well at the moment as a first game with Arsenal, a first game using a tactic I haven't used for about a year. I'm quietly confident at the moment. Perhaps forget 5 years. This will be a 1 year save. We'll just win the league. And we'll find a way into the Champions League via the back door this year and win the Champions League as well. We'll figure something out. Welbeck's in behind. Can he score? Of course he can't. Yeah, that's where we're going to have problems. We've had 3 clear-cut chances already. Only scored 2 of them. And I don't think we've scored the clear-cut chances. I think we've scored the stuff that was maybe a little bit harder to score. But that was some nice little bit of football, knocking it around inside the Leicester area. And I think that's been a productive first half. So let's get into the second half. I'm now thinking in terms of when do we get Ascencio onto the pitch, because that's going to be a difficulty. Lamar's just scored an absolutely beautiful free kick. There you go. Debut goal, free kick, whips it into the top corner. I think he was one of the stars of the Milan mission last year. I think we signed him before he was famous last year. And it looks like he's still pretty decent in this year's version of the game. But with the amount of players we've got at the club now, because we've brought in 3 big money signings and not let anyone go yet, keeping everybody happy is probably going to be one of the biggest challenges we've got, especially in these attacking midfield positions where it's not just these 3 plus Ascencio. We've got Theo Walcott, who's injured at the moment. We've got Welbeck, who's going to be part of those 3 normally when we've got Lacazette or Giroud up front. We've got competition for places further back as well. At the moment, we've got our £50 million signing Kristensen and our captain Mertesacker sat there on the bench. So we've got an abundance of players everywhere apart from up front, where I would like an extra 1 or 2, but we're going to take off Mustafi and bring on Kristensen to make his debut, and then we're going to take off Sanchez and bring on Ascencio so he can make his debut. And I'm just trying to decide what the right combination of these 3 is. I guess we'll just stick Ascencio out wide. And see how we get. So I know Iwobi probably would normally come on to that left wing position, but for now we've got to give the new signings their debuts, especially when we're 3-0 up. It just makes sense to get them a little bit of time on the pitch while everything's going well. And I wonder, because Alexis Sanchez hasn't been any good today, really. I wonder if we could still try and move him on this transfer window. That'd be the ideal. If we could get 60 or 70 million quid for him this transfer window and start chipping away at that transfer outlay. I'd love to break even on this season, but I just don't see how it's going to happen this year. But overall, we will. And we're 4-0 up against a Leicester team that, I mean, remember, in this, although the database and everything has been updated, this Leicester squad is defending champions with some additions. So this is a pretty decent performance. We'll take off Koscielny and bring on Mertesacker for the last 10 minutes, get our captain onto the pitch just to, again, experience this first day fun. This has gone very well. Well, this wasn't what I expected. Perhaps we didn't need to do 4-3-1-2 all this time after all. Perhaps there are other tactics in Football Manager. Who knew? Or are Leicester just rubbish? That's something you can let me know down in the comments. If you've enjoyed that today, please make sure you pop a like on there for me. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. And thank you very much for watching.